We are live now. Hello, everyone. My name is William Quiviger. I'm head of community at Docker, and I'm very excited to welcome you all for our third community all hands. It's just amazing, just the number of people who are registering, and to see that people are just connecting as I speak. So we've got a full agenda, a packed agenda, and let's get started. But before that, I do want to share a quick slide, and I want to thank everyone. Thank you all for connecting. These community all hands are unique opportunities for the Docker community to come together in a very informal environment on an amazing platform. I want to thank our friends at Tallulah for really providing this incredible interactive platform for the event. And you will see, for those who are new to Tallulah, it's really, really amazing. So before we begin, also some quick housekeeping. There are three things I really want to share with everyone to have like a full, amazing experience for the next 3 hours. Ask questions in the QA box. So we've got the chat on the right. You can ask your questions to speakers, and that little Q&A little tab will make it easy for speakers to see your questions, and then you can upvote for them. The most popular questions will bubble up at the top. Mention it's an interactive platform for people to connect, to meet, to have fun, update your profiles with your Twitter account, your GitHub, your bio, your headshot. Share as much as you can. This is all about connecting. And then last but not least, we have a lobby. So you'll notice on the left, we have a channel called Lobby. You'll find all the information about the event there, including our code of conduct. Make sure to read our code of conduct. Let's all be nice to each other. And with that, I will hand it over to my dear friend and colleague, Peter McKee, who's head of developer relations at Docker. And Peter will be hosting hey, Peter. He'll be hosting a live panel with Docker leadership. Take it away, Peter.
Awesome. Thank you so much. If we can go ahead, panelists, go ahead and join, and let's go get started. So, hey, hello. Welcome, everybody. It's good to see everybody in the community. Looks like the chat is very lively. Welcome, everybody. Yeah, so I'm Peter McKee, head of developer relations, and I got some great guests here today with me. We're going to be talking about how Docker is helping developers be more productive, building and securing their applications. But great, let's just jump right into it, why don't we? Let's go ahead and meet our panelists. Yui, how are you? You mind introducing yourself and letting everybody know who you are and what you do?
Doing good. I'm Dieu Cao, Senior Director of Product Management here at Docker. I work with the teams that help build Docker Desktop in particular, and with the teams that help produce and ensure that our Docker official images and Docker verified publisher content gets up there on Docker Hub. So happy to see everyone joining today.
Awesome. Justin Cormack's with us today. Hey, Justin, mind telling everybody who you are and what you do?
I'm Justin Cormack. I'm the CTO at Docker, so I work across all of our tech. So excited to see you all here, and like you, I'm a developer too, so I'm really interested in your feedback, and really excited to hear what you have to ask us today.
Awesome. Next, we have Jean-Laurent. JL, how are you doing? Do you mind introducing yourself? Tell everybody what you do.
Sure. Super happy to be there again for this community audience today. I'm the VP engineering, which means that I'm handling most of the engineering tasks here, which means that when a feature goes out, it's thanks to me somewhere, and when the feature is late, then it's my fault again, right? So that's what I do here at Docker, is managing the engineers. I'm doing all the hiring, and yeah, that's it. So blame me.
We're hiring. We're hiring.
Yes, we are hiring. Yes.
Awesome. And last but certainly not least, Scott Johnston, our CEO. Scott, please introduce yourself to everybody who you are, and maybe a little bit about what you do at Docker.
Yeah, maybe you can tell me, Peter. But Peter, thanks for the invite. Everyone, thanks so much for joining. We've got over 600 folks and more coming in, so we're looking forward to the morning. Scott Johnston. I've been using Docker for about 8 years now, summer of 2013. Super passionate about the community and the product and the company. And maybe the best job description is I'm chief bottle washer here at Docker. And I used to cut code. I used to be a developer, but I think for the world global safety, I no longer touch code, which is probably better for all concerned. So anyway, super happy to be here, Peter, and thanks for hosting.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thanks everybody for joining me. Glad to have you here. Yeah, so let's jump right into it. So Docker's done some great things over the past couple of years, certainly over the past year. But we also did some big changes to our subscriptions. Why don't we start there and dive right in, address the subscriptions for everybody in the community. But so my question to the panel is, what are our major changes to our subscription, and how does that affect our community? And then the future of Docker, how does that play in? What's our our thoughts going forward with our subscriptions? And I'll just open it up to the panel, and feel free to jump in, whoever wants to take that first. Okay, don't everybody jump at once. Justin, let's start with you. Why don't you mind taking it from a kind of a developer's technology perspective, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few things to say. One is that we spent a long time thinking about how we wanted to make these changes. It's really, it's from our point of view, it's really important that we can invest more in Docker Desktop in particular, because we know that you really value Docker Desktop. We can see it, from all the things that you complain about, all the things that we haven't fixed for you, all the things you asked for, and our roadmap, github.com/docker/roadmap. Put more things there. It's important. And so we know that, that there's a lot more we could do for you, and there's a lot more we want to do, and we really regret that we can't do those things. But put it bluntly, no one's paying us any money for desktop, and that's not really a sustainable business in the long run. So we decided to, we want to make this fair. We know that, a lot of people can't afford to pay for desktop. And so we made a decision that, we thought that we could ask large businesses that had, a lot of money, that had a lot of developers using desktop, that they could pay for it to help support development for everyone in the community. We made the decision that, we were not going to ask anyone who was like a small company with less than, small number of developers or no revenue, if you're a startup, or if you're just working on open source or charity or working in education, all those people who are really valuable to us. We're not just, we explicitly said we're not going to try and charge you at all. But, we obviously this is kind of disruptive, charging for something that was free. I'd say free was not ever open source. We're never going to take some open source code and close it or anything kind of stupid like that. We're not, but this is so that we can really invest a lot more in Docker Desktop. So we're hiring for the Docker Desktop team. We're getting more people on board to, fix those really difficult problems. We know that file system performance is still a problem. We've done lots of work on it, but there's way more to do. And then there's lots, and we've got lots of exciting ideas about things we can do. And it's just to make it a product that can really last for another 6 years. I mean, Docker Desktop was the first project I worked on when I was hired at Docker. It was 6 years ago to the day, pretty much, we started work on it. And I really want to see this project, carry on being the tool that you love and work with for a long time.
Yeah, awesome. Likewise, anybody else have anything to add there?
Yeah, that's a great summary, Justin, of some of the changes with regards to Docker Desktop. I'll emphasize that, to be we're allowing folks until the end of January, if you're using Docker Desktop and you are in an organization larger than 250 people and 10 million in revenue annually, you have till January to come into compliance on that, and that starts as small as $5 a month per developer who's actively using Docker Desktop. And we think that's a really fair value exchange for what we've invested in the past, and that we hope to invest in it in the future. couple of other things that we announced at the same time was the Docker Business subscription tier. That's our new subscription tier, and you don't need to purchase Docker Business to be in compliance, but we hope that for another number of businesses that are hoping to use Docker, all of the things that we offer at scale, managing your fleet of Docker Desktop, knowing what versions of Docker Desktop are deployed out there, and are having more insight into what sorts of images folks are using, or if you're interested in single sign-on capabilities. That's what Docker Business is for. And so we hope larger companies that are looking to manage Docker at scale will be interested in that tier. And if you have questions, you can, of course, contact our sales team on that. And we've got a really great fact that we've tried to be as transparent as possible about that folks should check out, that answers as many questions as transparently as possible about how we're thinking about this and why we're doing this, and whatnot. So please check out the FAQ and reach out to us if you have any questions.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
I'll just
Please.
yeah. Sorry, Peter. I'll just end maybe that. Look, there's about 13 million some users, developers that we can count today, and the developer market is growing so quickly. Like we see it growing based on analysts and industry and whatnot to like 45 million developers pretty quickly. And based on these changes that Yui and Justin just shared, still more than half of the Docker community is using all the products for free, which is great. And that was our intention, that we continue to provide a great free experience for the majority of the users. And there's a subset that are paying. We want to be able to support that, not just for 13 million users, but for the 45 million developers where the market is going. In order to do that, we have to find a balance between free and fee. And as Justin said, like that allows us to invest more heavily in desktop, allows us to hire more engineers, allows us to accelerate the features, many of which we're going to talk about later today.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Yeah, so we talked a lot about Docker subscription. Well, I can't say that word today, but and desktop is a core part of our subscriptions. But why? My question to the panel is, why does our community love desktop so much? What's so valuable about desktop? What makes it unique? Jean-Laurent, I'd love to get your thoughts on it. Your engineering team is doing a lot of work there, right? It's not necessarily surfaced out to the community. So yeah, sorry to put you on the spot, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. And you, by the way, have the best Docker t-shirt there is, and I'm a little jealous. But yeah, it's awesome.
So I joined the company also where with Justin and roughly at the same time, and I've been assigned to Docker Desktop for quite a while. So I've seen the creation of that thing and all the problems we've been solving since then. And at the heart, what we try to do with Docker Desktop is make sure that whatever is your operating system, you feel at home and it feels completely easy to use the Docker, the CLI, and the engine. So if you're a Windows user, we try to adapt to the technology there. We try to mimic the UI. We try to be to feel at home as much as possible, even though you're using a Linux binary behind the scene, right? And that's the core of the thing we do, right? So we make it easy for you to install. We make it painless for you to update. We make it like easy to start and stop. Of course, there's like glitches everywhere, right? And then there's also always like bugs. Operating system come and go. We have to check how many we are supporting, how many we're. Every time we kind of like remove one, like there's people like not happy about it, and we hear you. I mean, at one point we should be talking about the CI system that we got for desktop. We're running more than 100 machines that are testing desktop ins and out on the various operating system, on Mac, on Windows, and the various flavor that you got here. And if you remember all the various flavor of Windows you got, it's like from the Home Edition to the Enterprise one. I mean, the engineers are hard at work making sure that those things are tested. So whenever you got that Docker desktop running on your system, it's something that should be working quite well. That's the ultimate goal, is like making you forget about having Docker running there and making sure they can use it as seamless as possible. I think that's the goal we're trying to achieve there. And we've been fairly successful with that. I remember the first day when people start seeing the wheel into their Mac menu or their Windows bar, they were like so excited about to see that thing there. It's like, oh yes, finally I can code there without having to remotely connect to something or somewhere and get the connection lost or something. So I think we're still true to that roots of things.
Yeah, perfect. Justin, let me play a little devil's advocate here, because we've heard this in our community and now out in the world a little bit. But why can't I just fire up a Linux VM on my Mac and just do everything I can normally do on desktop? What's the problem with that?
I mean, what's interesting is, I guess how much there is that's kind of hidden inside what Docker Desktop does for you that you don't really think about. You can do that, but then you have to maintain that, update that Linux distribution. You have to update Docker. But there's all sorts of little problems that you probably haven't thought of yet that our engineers have come across and found, at scale that they're problems. So there's one little thing that, like, for example, when you shut the lid of your Mac, the clock stops. And then when you open it up again, the Linux VM gets really confused because the time suddenly changed by a whole amount, or it hasn't changed in its view. And like there's a load of work we've had to do, and we've had to change over time as as other things have changed into how we make sure the clocks resync back and the time difference is allowed for. There's a whole lot of work around making sure that Docker works when you turn your VPN on, the networking changes, and how the network traffic from the VM is actually routed. There's a whole lot of work in terms of like supporting things like QEMU to let you do multi-arch, so that if you have a Mac M1, you can just run Intel Linux containers just as if you were on an Intel Mac. There's actually there's a very, very long list of these things, and then there's there's a lot of very different environments people run in. There's lots of different versions of Windows. Some people have WSL2, some people don't. There are lots of different Mac OSs with different virtualization frameworks, M1. But there's a lot of change and maintenance involved in this thing that, most of it you don't see because it just works and it just seems to be magic. And then there's all the pieces that we've built on top, and we're building on top of the UI. We know there's a lot more we can do with the UI, but we know a lot of you love using it, and it makes things easier for you. There's a lot of work we've been doing, under the scenes with updating Docker Compose. Again, we're going to talk about more later. There's all these pieces that we've been doing, and we're really we've got people every day, solving your support issues. You can, if you're subscribing, you can file paid support issues, and our engineers will spend sometimes days on individual people's support issues. It's whatever the level of your subscription is, it's a lot of work. We've always spent a lot of work trying to automate support for checking if lots of people suddenly start getting a crash because something in Windows has maybe changed, and the people who've updated that version of Windows are getting a crash sometimes. For that reason, we will, look at these crash reports and try and correlate what's going wrong and things like that. So there's a lot of work that's behind the scenes in supporting making this work at scale, and it's not perfect. But that's why we know we need to invest even more in doing this to make it even better for you.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, so let's ask the question I get asked probably at least once a week, if not more, and that's desktop for Linux. What's our plans around all of our Linux users? How are we investing in desktop for Linux? Yeah, I'd love to hear the panel's thoughts on that and where we're going. Maybe let me ask you, Yui, what are your thoughts from a product standpoint?
Yeah, it's one of our top voted requests on our roadmap and on our public roadmap, and you can check out our public roadmap and upvote items, by the way. We really care about your feedback there. our Docker captains who are pretty comfortable with Docker technology ask every single time I meet with them about when will they have Docker Desktop for Linux, and we're pleased to announce today that we're committing to doing Docker Desktop for Linux.
You're hearing it here first, community, Docker community. This is breaking right here, right now, for you all. For you all, we saved this for you. Yeah,
Yes.
thank you, thank you. I've seen some reactions there.
Yes, we're very happy to announce that now. We're very interested in getting feedback from you all on exactly what that'll look like. We're aiming to get a tech preview out as soon as we can. Dates to be determined depending on some of our choices there, but hopefully by the end of the year we can get a tech preview out to folks to give it a try and give us more feedback on it.
We have a blog post that's going out right now announcing this new feature or accelerated feature that we're pulling in for Docker Desktop, again, as a result of the changes we did 2 weeks ago. And there's a sign up in there to sign up for the developer preview program for Docker Desktop for Linux. So love to have as many of you as possible participate in that preview program.
Yeah, so
and also we're also going to make many of our engineers very happy, because we have a lot of people internally who use Linux as their
Yeah,
desktop
exactly.
as well, and they've been wanting to work on this and wanting to do it. But again, it's one of these things that until we actually had some revenue coming in for desktop, it was harder to justify doing things like that.
And also, when you start such an endeavor as it is, right, it's a long-term commitment, right? I mean, as you said, our engineers are super excited about this. I've seen like at least 3 or 4 prototypes internally of people like trying to do Docker Desktop for Linux and begging me and Yui and everybody else, like, how can we start this? It's like, sure, we could start it, but we need to be committed to actually publishing the updates and making sure that we fix bugs and we got a support team ready for the little things. And that's the kind of thing we are now ready to do, thanks to what we're doing here today. So it's not just like assembling a few binaries and just let it go there, right? It's about like maintaining the thing, making it work for a long time.
Yeah, and keeping it up to date. I'm extremely excited about it. So thank you guys. As we kind of wind down here at the end, I wish we had all day. I'm sure I could talk to you folks forever, but yeah, talking about security. Security's been in the news and in my ear a lot, talking to developers and people out in the field. Secure software supply chain is a big issue. So I guess my question is, what are we doing here at Docker to help developers build more secure applications and, secure their software supply chain? And I'll just leave that open to if anybody wants to take that. If not, I'm going to call on somebody. So Justin, it looks like
I'm happy.
Thank you,
I can have to talk about that. So there's a lot of things that we're doing. There's a lot more planned as well. So one of the things that's really, really important from the secure supply chain is the content that we publish on Docker Hub, which is safe and trusted. So Docker official images have been around for 8 years, I think 7, 8 years, as the trusted way as a base image. We officially launched back at DockerCon our Docker Verified Publisher program, which really expands this to a lot of other publishers as well, publishing content that's updated, great base images, great applications for you to use directly. So we have people like Red Hat, Canonical with their Ubuntu images, VMware, Adobe. There's a long list of publishers who are coming in and producing software that you can trust because it's being updated, and we're really trying to expand that program a lot. We've got new people coming in, so that's really important. As part of the Docker business plan, we introduced content restrictions where you can configure Docker Desktop so that it can only pull images from the Docker official images and Docker Verified publishers. And we're expanding that support so you can configure which other registries you can pull from. So you can say, I only want to pull from my own ECR and maybe not Quay or not Docker Hub or whatever, any combination of these things. So that's one of the features that people have asked for. As well, with the business plan, we're planning a bunch of features. People are really interested in finding out which images their developers are using, and we're looking at features along those lines. We're also working up, there's a lot of open source projects around supply chain security that we're working with. So I'm very involved with the Notary V2 project on container signing at the CNCF, and we're working with Amazon and Microsoft on that to really bring cross-registry and widely supported container signing everywhere. And there's a whole lot more areas where we're busy doing prototypes, talking to customers. If you've got interest and concerns and things, please come and talk to us, because we're really interested to hear what your concerns are.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Anybody want to jump in there and add to it? I think Justin hit most of the high level points that I was thinking in my mind, but go ahead and jump in. But I want to shift a little bit towards the community, right? So we have an extremely large community worldwide. I think it's one of the best developer communities in the world, very open and responsive to new users. But sometimes people getting into a large community with a complicated technology, what's the best way to get started at joining the Docker community and contributing? What are you guys' thoughts around that? Scott, maybe I'll call on you if you don't mind. What's your thoughts?
Well,
around community,
look,
and folks getting, yeah, good. Sorry.
Yeah, look, we believe that all 45 million developers that the market is going to should be Docker users, should be loving using Docker and getting the benefits from Docker, from a productivity, from a security, from a sharing standpoint, collaboration standpoint. And so that takes community to grow us there, right? It's not going to be just Docker, the company, doing it. It's going to be all of the folks, coming up on 900 folks participating on this all hands, sharing with your meetup groups, with your local meetups, sharing with your internal teams. And the changes we made are designed to allow that type of sharing, that type of collaboration, that type of participation. We could reference other examples, right? So there's hundreds of thousands, probably millions by now, Docker Compose files up on GitHub and other venues for the sharing. Awesome Compose is one of those things. We maybe put that in the pinned responses. That's all contributed by the community, right? It's a great example of the community giving back. There's over 8 million repos on Docker Hub. That wasn't all put there by Docker. That was put there by the community, and most of those are public repos. So the community is sharing its applications and its content it's developing. And so those are two concrete examples, Peter, but we expect fully more to be made available as we have additional plugins across the product and community to share those plugins. We expect the community to continue to share use cases and best practices for building applications with each other, whether it's in Compose files or images files. So we think there's lots of room to run for the Docker community, and we rely on the community to kind of educate others and bring others along so that they can get the benefit of Docker as well.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, we'll put the link in, but we have a community page on docker.com. Check that out. You can see all of our meetups worldwide, whether they're virtual or some are coming back in person, but please check those out. Get plugged in locally. That's one of the best ways to actually get to start talking to folks and contributing. Even if you contribute just with your questions, there's probably someone out there that has the same question. And also too, just generally, I think it's been posted already, but check out our roadmap. A lot of people stay up to date with our roadmap, what we're doing internally. That is our roadmap. I know all of these wonderful folks on with me today are on that roadmap. They read your comments, they update it, and it's very important to us. So please join in there. All right. Well, that's all the questions I had for you guys today, but I do have some questions from the community. If you guys don't mind sticking around a little bit and can ask you some questions. Justin, you hinted at it a little bit earlier, but so what is the future of Notary and how does it fit into Docker's roadmap and vision? Maybe you could tell some folks what Notary is and before we jump in.
So Notary is the container signing project that that was built at Docker many years ago, donated to the CNCF like 4 or 5 years ago. And we've really been investing with the broader community to revamp it, because a lot of the reasons why it was like it was had kind of changed. It was built when Docker Hub was the only container registry, and the important thing now is there's a lot of different container registries, and we really want the whole signature format to be native and portable and supported by all registries. So we're working with the broader registry community in making those standards. And I think signing is one of the pieces of supply chain security that's important so you can verify where things came from, and that's one of the important pieces in the supply chain. And one of the things that we want to do, we want to particularly change a lot of the way that Notary was kind of opt-in, and make it like there by default and like signatures checked by default, rather than signatures only checked if you actually kind of opt in, which not many people are doing. So it's really a shift towards improving the amount of verification and security in the whole ecosystem.
Awesome. Thank you. So I do get some questions around some of our subscription changes, and it's really around people are coming new, students, instructors, universities, those type of things. Can they still use Docker? Huey, what?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, they absolutely.
All of us
can
at once say
still
yes.
use Docker.
Yes.
That's via the Docker personal subscription tier. You don't actually have to purchase anything for that. You can of course sign up for a Docker ID for that, but you can. We wanted to make sure for education purposes, for students, for teachers, for for organizations, consulting companies that use Docker to help teach people about how to work with containers. We wanted to ensure that those use cases still make sense, and small companies still make sense to use Docker Desktop, or that there's no charge for that. We did not want that to be a friction for those sorts of users.
Yeah, great. Yeah, so you can still use Docker that you all know and love. Don't worry about it. We're still here for you. Let's see. What about open source, right? Open source communities are a huge part of our Docker community. Does this subscriptions changes affect them or no?
Justin, do you want to chime in on that?
No. I mean, we haven't made any changes to any of the open source projects. A lot of the components that we're working on are open source. A lot of the components of Docker Desktop, there's pieces of Docker Desktop that are open source, and there are active communities around these projects, and people are doing really exciting things with BuildKit, which is really there's lots of contributions from outside Docker. There's lots of work going on, and we're really committed to open source. Open source is it's important for us. There's lots of things that we do. We actually open source lots of little pieces and stuff all the time, and I don't think we even announce a lot of them because it's just part of the way we work. Engineers just say we went to open source this, and it's like, yes, it's fine. So there's actually there's a lot of work going on. There's actually we've been doing big things with like Docker Compose. We've rewritten in Go, which was one of the top requests on the roadmap. So the Docker Compose built into the Docker CLI and Go is just being finished off right now, and that's all open source. There's a lot of interest in Compose across the wider community, which is why we did the Compose spec last year and opened up the specification process to everyone, and we've done the work with Amazon and Microsoft on Compose for the cloud platforms, and there's all sorts of people experimenting. There's work going on. We've been doing, others have been doing with Compose on Kubernetes. There's all these pieces of work going across open source across everywhere in Docker.
Yeah, great. The one is kind of the last question I get a lot is, hey, we're a big organization. We have a lot of users. We love desktop. Can we get invoiced? Can we do an invoice? How do we work directly with Docker? How can we connect to understand the subscription? How do we purchase? What's the best way to connect with Docker in that regards? I saw you shaking your head.
Yeah, we'll contact our sales team. They can answer all of the questions about invoicing and wire transfer and all of those things. We have invoicing available for Docker Business and at certain volumes, of course. But at the team tier, you can purchase with credit card for large groups of people. It's really easy to onboard and offboard people from that as well.
Yeah.
And we'll have single sign-on to make it even easier to onboard large organizations later in the year as well, which is something that we're really looking forward to because lots of people have been asking for it.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. There's some questions in there. Some of them are a little bit in the Q&A. Some of them are a little bit help troubleshooting. A little hard to help troubleshoot on the panel. Although I'm sure you would love to have Justin help you troubleshoot your issues. He's pretty good. But but yeah, thank you for your questions. Please ask any more questions that you have. Love to take them, and we'll continue on our conversation here with the team. But so. What are sorry, I'm clicking around. Oh, there he is. Hi, William. You're back. Thank you. Oh no, he's gone. There he is. Okay. Little magic trick. Hi, William.
Yeah, we have a few more minutes. I think there's so many questions. Yeah, I just wanted to jump in and say, yeah, Peter, maybe we have 2-3 more minutes to field some questions from the community. So go for it.
Yeah, maybe Justin, I want to ask you that sometimes a lot of the open source projects. So how does Docker as a company and the open source projects, the major ones around the engine and all those things, how does that fit in? How do we fit in with Moby? How does that work? Maybe for those folks just coming new to Docker and understanding, because we get that a lot. I thought Docker was open source. Well, it's not. Desktop isn't. Wait, I don't really understand. Maybe from how you could talk a little bit about how the projects all fit together. You wouldn't mind?
Yeah, I mean, it can be a little bit confusing to find your way around our projects because we do have an awful lot of repos on GitHub, and we tend to have this practice of having lots of small repos with different parts in, which makes it really difficult to find your way around. Sometimes it's always worth going and asking questions in Slack if you're confused about where things are, because we have, for example, and I know a lot of people find this confusing, and I find it's something that I'd like to fix, that we have slightly fewer repos of these things. Some of it's leftovers. So we have like repos called Docker CE, packaging and things like that, which are a lot of them are about packaging up the products into things like RPMs and Debian packages and things like that, and build and CI infrastructure rather than just the actual underlying code. And we have perhaps too many of those repos for sometimes for historical reasons. Sometimes it's more convenient to have lots of small repos doing one thing. So and often the build process will package up a bunch of things, like the Docker CLI now includes Compose, so it has to bundle in the Compose repo and things like that. So it can be confusing. Do come along to Slack and chat to the developers. They hang out there and they can find your way around. Also, we've always built things as with this sort of philosophy of there are components that do one thing well and you focus on that. So and then there are kind of projects that or products that bring all these things together and help you use them. So Docker Desktop has always been a product, not an open source project. It's a product that takes all the pieces that you love about Docker and you want to use, and it updates them all. It brings them to you. It has an opinionated way to about how you use them, and we'll bring you updates. We'll make it run on Windows and a Mac, and we'll do all those things. So it's a philosophy of there are components that are often quite narrowly focused, like BuildKit just does builds, doesn't do anything else. It's not the best way usually to use BuildKit is in the context of the bundling it has in Docker Engine, but actually in Docker Desktop we set it up so that it uses the BuildKit features first and encourages you to use them, and we roll out new features to developers in Docker Desktop actually kind of first, rather than letting you adopt them. We'll actually we'll move you over to BuildKit when we know there's no issues with it and there aren't bugs and things like that. So we'll actually have an opinionated process around how you should use those open source projects. We've been doing this with Docker Compose. We've been rolling out to the version 2, the one rewritten in Go, just kind of smoothly without most people noticing that we're updating them. So projects into product that you can actually use on a day-to-day basis and rely on, and it's updated. It's got security patches and so on.
Yeah, great. So we got William back again. Hi, William. I think you're going to
That's
kick us
the
out.
cue. That's the cue.
Yeah,
Yes.
awesome.
All right. He's the hook. William, you're the hook. Pulling us off.
Indeed. Just gonna pull. No, thank you all. This is great. I'm just looking at the stream of questions. I just want to reassure everyone we're going to continue answering you just in the chat, but the show continues. And so again, thank you all to all the panelists. Thank you, Peter. As always a pleasure to see you host.